While 100 million people are screaming at screens during the Super Bowl, spending hundreds of dollars on jerseys for millionaires they'll never meet, getting genuinely angry when strangers lose a game, there's a massive group of people sitting there thinking, what am I missing? And according to neuroscience, their brains aren't just wired differently. They might actually be operating on a completely different reward system. Stay with me, because what I'm about to show you explains why you've never understood what all the fuss is about. Let's get this out of the way right now. If you don't care about sports, you're not boring, you're not antisocial, you're not missing some real human experience, and you're definitely not less capable of passion. You're just different, and that difference is measurable, biological, and honestly pretty fascinating. While about 60% of people follow sports religiously, the other 40% have something else going on in their brains, something science is only now starting to understand. Here's what sports fans won't tell you, mostly because they don't even realize it's happening. When someone watches their team play, their brain releases oxytocin. That's the same bonding hormone involved in family attachment and close relationships. Their brain is literally tricking them into believing that complete strangers wearing the same colors are part of their tribe. For most of human history, tribal belonging meant survival. Your group protected you, fed you, kept you alive. Sports hijack that ancient wiring. But researchers discovered something interesting. People who don't obsess over sports tend to have lower tribal dependency. Their identity isn't strongly tied to group membership. They're more individualistic. They don't need to belong to something bigger to feel whole. A study found that people with low interest in sports show less us versus them thinking. In simple terms, you're less likely to dislike someone just because they're wearing a different jersey. In a world that's increasingly divided, that might not be a weakness, that might be a superpower. Now here's where it gets legitimately concerning. That feeling you get right before opening a gift, that anticipation, that's dopamine firing in your brain. Sports fans get that same dopamine hit constantly during games, every play, every possession. It's a non-stop stream of anticipation and reward. Brain scans show that watching your team activates the same reward centers as gambling. And the key is uncertainty. You don't know what's going to happen, so your brain stays locked in. This is called intermittent reinforcement, the most addictive reward schedule known to psychology. It's why slot machines work. It's why people check their phones obsessively. And it's why sports fans can't look away. Your brain doesn't care where dopamine comes from. It just wants more. People who don't care about sports simply don't get that dopamine response from vicarious competition. And this may not be a choice at all. Research suggests that variations in dopamine receptor genes can predict how much someone enjoys competitive spectator activities. In other words, your complete indifference to whether a team wins or loses may literally be coded in your DNA. You're not choosing to be uninterested. Your brain is built different. Sports psychologists have a term for something you've probably noticed. It's called BIRGing, basking in reflected glory. When a team wins, fans say, "We won." When the team loses, suddenly it's "they lost." That pronoun switch isn't random. It's ego protection. People who don't obsess over sports are less likely to do this. Their self-concept is more stable. Their self-esteem doesn't rise and fall based on what strangers do with a ball. Your emotional state isn't hijacked by outcomes you can't control. And there's something quietly powerful about that. Here's a question sports fans love to ask. Did you see the game? As if not caring about one thing means not caring about anything. But research shows the opposite. People with low interest in sports often score higher in openness to experience, intellectual curiosity, appreciation for beauty, and preference for deep conversation. Your brain is still seeking meaning, connection, and flow. You're just finding it somewhere else. While sports fans get emotional highs from championships, you might get the same neurochemical reward from a sunset, a meaningful conversation, mastering a creative skill, discovering an idea that changes how you see the world, or building a deep relationship. Everyone has a limited capacity for deep caring. You're not lacking passion, you're just not outsourcing it to millionaire athletes. Now let's be honest about something uncomfortable. For some people, not caring about sports isn't just preference, it's protection. Maybe you were the last one picked in gym class. Maybe you were bullied by sports culture. Maybe it felt aggressive, exclusionary, or humiliating. Maybe you never understood why adults scream at televisions. If your indifference has a backstory, that's valid. And if you simply find it boring, that's valid too. Here's why sports fans and non-fans often can't understand each other. They experience meaning differently. Sports fans find meaning in narrative, the underdog story, the comeback, the rivalry. It feels real because it's unpredictable. People who don't care about sports see that randomness and think, why emotionally invest in something I can't control, performed by people I don't know, that doesn't affect my real life? They're not wrong. And sports fans aren't wrong either. They're just two different strategies for finding meaning. One finds epic stories in championships, the other finds them in creativity, relationships, knowledge, and growth. One builds parasocial connections with teams and players. The other invests emotionally where there's reciprocity, where they're participants, not spectators. Neither is better, they're just different. Here's something that rarely gets talked about. People who don't obsess over sports often feel more present in their own lives. They're not spending hours each week living someone else's struggle. They're engaged in their own. While others live vicariously, you're actually living. Your time is yours. Your emotional energy is yours. Your attention is yours. That's quietly radical. I'm not saying sports fans are wasting their time. People should do what brings them joy. But there is power in being the main character of your own story instead of a spectator in someone else's. So what does all this mean? If you don't care about sports, you're not missing a fundamental human experience. You're not broken. You're not boring. You're not less human. Your brain's reward system, your tribal instincts, your empathy, they're calibrated differently. And in a world obsessed with spectacle over substance, with watching life instead of living it, maybe your indifference to sports isn't a flaw, it's a feature. So next time someone asks, "Did you see the game?" and you genuinely don't care, remember this: you're not playing the wrong game, you're just playing a different one, and that game might have higher stakes.
If you made it to the end of this video, you're already different from 90% of people. You actually think for yourself. Subscribe to join a community of people who question everything, who aren't afraid to be different, and who refuse to follow the crowd just because everyone else does. I upload every week with psychology that actually matters. Click subscribe. You belong here.